The world held its breath as an elegant and sleek spaceship descended into Earth's atmosphere. Its surface shimmered, cloaked in advanced technology, making it nearly invisible against the vastness of the sky. This was no ordinary visitor. It was a symbol of the Galactic Council, a vast empire that controlled hundreds of worlds, including civilizations far more advanced than humanity. News outlets around the globe broadcasted the arrival, and leaders of every country gathered in anticipation. Earth's first contact with an alien species, an opportunity to discuss peace, prosperity, and potentially a partnership with the most technologically advanced beings in the galaxy. The spaceship hovered silently above New York, casting a shadow over the United Nations headquarters. Inside, world leaders, diplomats, and military personnel anxiously awaited the arrival of Solara, the Galactic Council's envoy, the woman who would speak for an empire that had seen countless worlds fall under its control. As she descended from her ship, her striking appearance made the crowd go silent in awe. Solara was tall, her features almost ethereal, with glowing eyes and an aura of power. The envoy wore a cloak that seemed to shimmer with energy, and she moved with the confidence of someone who knew the weight of her position. Solara stepped onto the podium, raising her hand to signal for silence. The room fell quiet as the first words of peace were spoken. She addressed the United Nations in perfect English, her voice calm, yet tinged with the weight of authority. She spoke of the Galactic Council's vision of unity, how Earth could join the Empire in a mutual exchange of knowledge, resources, and protection. She presented examples of the Council's advanced technologies, including energy shields, warp drives, and artificial intelligence, all designed to make life better for every world that embraced them. The room erupted in applause after her speech. Leaders were mesmerized, unsure if this moment was a dream. The idea of intergalactic peace seemed impossible until this moment. Solara's knowledge and power seemed like the future of humanity, but just as the applause began to settle, something went wrong. Solara's face, which had been so serene moments before, twisted into an expression of intense discomfort. She stumbled forward, her legs buckling beneath her. The elegant envoy's body twitched uncontrollably. Her hands clenched into fists, her face frozen in a silent scream. She collapsed to the floor in front of the world leaders, her body shaking as if struck by some unseen force. Panic spread like wildfire. Medical teams rushed to her side, attempting to stabilize her. The room filled with chaos. Earth's military officials, who had been observing closely, exchanged worried glances. No one understood what had just happened. One moment, the envoy was offering peace, and the next, she was convulsing on the floor, like a puppet with its strings cut. The leaders, still in shock, looked at each other. What was happening? Was this some kind of attack? Was it a trick? Or was something much darker unfolding right before their eyes? Solara was swiftly taken away by the medical team, but the mystery only deepened. She was physically unharmed. Her vital signs were normal. Her body showed no signs of injury. Yet something had happened to her mind. The Council's envoy was not dead, but her mind was in turmoil, trapped in something far more mysterious. Solara's body was stable, but her consciousness was locked in a state of deep, disorienting visions. She muttered words in an alien language that no one could understand, and when doctors tried to interact with her, she would scream, her voice filled with terror. The medical team could not explain what was happening. Nothing like this had ever been seen. The symptoms were unlike any known disorder, and they feared the worst. The military, now fully involved, began to wonder if Earth had been tricked. Had the Galactic Council set up a fake peace mission, only to deceive Earth into lowering its defenses? Was the envoy's appearance nothing more than a tactic, part of some greater plan to manipulate humanity into submission? Rumors spread, fueled by the unknown. What was the real purpose of the Galactic Council? Why had Solara suffered this trauma, and why hadn't she shown signs of aggression? These questions loomed over Earth's leaders as they debated their next steps. Dr. Aidan Carter, a renowned human psychologist, was called in to help Solara. He had worked with high-profile cases before, but nothing like this. The moment he stepped into the room and saw Xylara lying unconscious, her face contorted with distress, a sense of unease washed over him. There was something deeply wrong with her, something beyond her physical state. Xylara's psychic abilities were well known. The Galactic Council had boasted about them during her speech. But this was something entirely different, something darker. Dr. Carter sat by her side, trying to make sense of her condition. As he spoke to her, hoping for a breakthrough, her eyes suddenly flickered open. They were glowing faintly, filled with fear. Her voice was weak, barely a whisper, but it sent a chill through Dr. Carter's spine. "They will come, unless you stop them." The words were not just a warning. They were a cryptic message that seemed to echo from deep within her mind. Who were they? What was coming? And why had Xylara been sent here in such a state? Dr. Carter felt a shiver run down his spine. The questions in his mind multiplied. He wasn't just dealing with a psychological case anymore. Xylara's trauma was connected to something much larger. The mysterious forces she warned about, were they a threat to Earth? Was the Galactic Council truly here to help, or were they hiding something far more sinister? The feeling of dread settled over him like a heavy blanket. He knew one thing for certain. The answers to these questions were about to unfold in ways that no one could have predicted. The peace that had been promised to Earth could be nothing more than a lie, and humanity might soon be facing an enemy far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. Dr. Aiden Carter had been a part of many complex cases throughout his career, but nothing could have prepared him for the one he faced now. He sat by Xylara's side, carefully observing the alien Envoy's distress as his team worked around him. Her once calm demeanor had shattered, replaced by bursts of violent outbursts. She would scream at the walls, her eyes wide with terror, as though trying to escape from something invisible. In an instant, objects would fly across the room, shattered by the force of her psychic powers. Her power was incredible, but it was completely out of control. Despite the chaos, Dr. Carter refused to give up. He knew there was something deeper at play. The mind was a powerful thing, capable of hiding the most terrifying truths. It was clear that Xylara was hiding something that caused her mind to spiral into these destructive fits. And though the military feared the worst, Dr. Carter sensed something different in her, something that pushed him to help her. Every time he spoke with her, trying to draw her out of her violent outbursts, he saw the fear in her eyes. It was not the fear of defeat or of death, but a deeper, more primal fear, something that had shaped her very existence. She was terrified, and for reasons he couldn't yet understand, she feared the very beings she represented. Days passed, and Dr. Carter's bond with Xylara grew. He continued to communicate with her, even as she writhed in her psychic torments. His team worked tirelessly to understand what had happened, but it was clear that the surface of her trauma barely scratched the surface of the truth. Xylara's mind was locked in a cage, one that neither the medical team nor the military could break. But Dr. Carter believed he could get through to her. Slowly, he gained her trust. She began to open up, but her words were cryptic, laden with confusion and terror. Under hypnosis, Xylara's mind seemed to open up, revealing secrets that no one could have imagined. As Dr. Carter carefully guided her through the memories buried in her subconscious, something shifted. The calm of the room was broken by the shuddering of her body, and suddenly, her voice was no longer hers. It was deep, cold, and full of authority, the voice of someone who had seen and caused unspeakable things. I remember. Xylara's voice trembled as it broke through the hypnosis. The council, it was them. They did it. Her eyes flickered, and Dr. Carter's heart raced as he realized she wasn't talking about her own actions, but the council she served. Under hypnosis, Xylara spoke of the horrors she had witnessed, her mind recalling the destruction of entire civilizations. The council, they are not allies, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. They destroy worlds. They wipe them out without mercy. Her voice cracked with the weight of the memories. Earth is not an ally. Earth is a target. Dr. Carter's eyes widened in shock. He leaned forward, barely able to contain his disbelief. What do you mean? What's happening? Why are they targeting Earth? Silara's gaze became distant as though she was staring into a different reality, one filled with unimaginable terror. Her lips trembled as she spoke of her past. They forced me to witness it, she continued, her voice low. The councils, atrocities, entire star systems erased from existence, civilizations that never had a chance. I saw them burn. I saw them die. It was my punishment. To watch. The room fell silent as Silara's words echoed in Dr. Carter's mind. This was not just an envoy sent to broker peace. She had been an unwilling participant in a war machine that annihilated worlds without remorse. And now, Earth was on the verge of becoming the next victim. Silara's mind, fractured by the trauma of witnessing the destruction of so many innocent lives, had finally begun to unravel. The true nature of the Galactic Council was more terrifying than anyone had realized. They were not a benevolent force. They were conquerors, destroyers. Silara, once one of their most trusted members, had now become a prisoner of her own mind, haunted by the horrors she had been forced to witness. As the days passed, the strain on Silara's psyche became unbearable. The once dominant force of the Galactic Council, with its psychic powers and superior technology, was slowly crumbling under the weight of its own twisted past. Dr. Carter and his team struggled to keep up with her fluctuating mental state. One moment, Silara would seem calm and coherent, recalling pieces of information about her mission. The next moment, she would lose control completely, her psychic abilities spiraling out of control, ripping apart the walls of the medical facility. The human military, now fully aware of the magnitude of the situation, became increasingly uneasy. They had come to Earth believing they were merely dealing with an alien envoy, a messenger offering peace and cooperation. Now they realized that they might be facing something far darker than they ever imagined. The Galactic Council's true intentions were not just to make Earth a member of their empire. They wanted to control it, dominate it, and eventually destroy it. As the tension mounted, Dr. Carter found himself fighting against the clock. He could feel the storm building in Silara's mind, a storm that threatened to consume her and everyone around her. The very powers that had once made her an envoy of peace were now the source of her torment. Her psychic abilities, once a gift, had become a curse. She was caught in a battle within herself, and Dr. Carter feared that if he couldn't help her, it would be too late for Earth. The room was a blur of activity as Dr. Carter watched Silara's condition deteriorate. Her mind was slipping further into chaos, and her visions were becoming increasingly disturbing. Through her psychic link, she began to experience flashes of the destruction she had witnessed, visions of entire star systems being wiped out by a wave of energy, planets burning to cinders as their inhabitants screamed in vain. Dr. Carter felt his own heart race as Silara's body convulsed violently. The walls of the room shook with the power of her mind. Objects flew across the room as though caught in an invisible storm. Silara screamed, her voice echoing in the facility as the visions overwhelmed her. Through her eyes, Dr. Carter saw the devastation. Entire civilizations reduced to ashes, planets turned into lifeless husks by the destructive power of the Galactic Council's weaponry. He saw a world, his world, hanging in the balance, with Earth's fate now uncertain. The Council was not here to help, but to prepare Earth for the same fate that had befallen so many others. As Silara's mind spiraled, her vision grew darker. She saw flashes of Earth's cities in ruin, firestorms engulfing entire continents, humanity's last stand growing weaker by the day. The tension in the room was palpable, a reflection of the storm raging inside Silara's mind. The danger was no longer distant. It was here. It was real. The hope for peace, so carefully crafted by the Galactic Council's representatives, was now slipping away. The Council's true nature had been exposed, and Earth was now on the brink of a war it had never prepared for. Dr. Carter's heart pounded in his chest as he realized the truth. The Council was not here to offer peace. They were here to conquer, and if Earth didn't act fast, it would be too late to stop them. As the room quieted, and Zylara's violent psychic outbursts subsided, Dr. Carter knew one thing for certain. The fate of Earth hung in the balance. The Galactic Council's true face had been revealed, and now it was up to humanity to decide whether they would fight to survive, or fall under the shadow of the Empire. But with every passing moment, the storm inside Zylara's mind grew more intense, and the countdown to Earth's fate had already begun. The tension in the air was suffocating. The fate of an entire world rested on a single question. Could humanity stop the power of the Galactic Council, or would they become the next civilization to burn? The answers were out there, hidden within the chaos of Zylara's tortured mind. But time was running out. The atmosphere was tense, as if the air itself could sense the impending storm. Dr. Aiden Carter sat beside Zylara in the dimly lit medical room, his heart racing. He could feel the weight of the moment, the sense that they were on the edge of a revelation that would change everything. Zylara's psychic abilities, once an unpredictable mess, had finally started to stabilize, but only in the most bizarre and terrifying ways. Her mind, though fragile, was now capable of revealing secrets that had been buried deep within her. In a moment of deep connection, Dr. Carter felt a jolt, a powerful surge of energy. He recoiled, feeling a mental presence link with his own consciousness. He saw flashes of light, and then, for the first time, he was inside Zylara's mind. He felt what she felt, her confusion, her terror, her anguish. And then, through the haze of chaotic thoughts, came a revelation so shocking that it sent a chill down his spine. Through their shared vision, Zylara's voice broke into his thoughts. Earth is the key, she whispered, her tone urgent, filled with desperation. The Council, they need it. They need its resources, its people. Earth is to be the crown jewel in their conquest, but their real goal is to destroy it. This peace mission, it was a lie. Earth was never meant to be an ally. You were meant to be a pawn. Dr. Carter's breath caught in his throat. He could barely comprehend the gravity of her words. The peace mission, the very reason for Zylara's presence on Earth, had never been about peace at all. It had been a cover-up, a carefully constructed lie to distract humanity while the true plan was set into motion. Earth wasn't being welcomed into a galactic alliance. It was being prepared for destruction, targeted for a surprise attack by the Galactic Council. Zylara's face twisted in anguish. They are already coming. They will strike when you least expect it. It is too late to stop them. Dr. Carter's mind spun. He felt as if the ground had been ripped out from under him. He had spent countless hours trying to help Zylara, believing she was an innocent Envoy. Now he realized that he was dealing with a far more dangerous enemy than he had ever imagined. The Council had manipulated not just Zylara, but humanity as well. The weight of Zylara's words hung in the air like a heavy fog. Dr. Carter's heart pounded as he snapped back into reality, the connection severing between him and the alien Envoy. Time was running out. If the Council's invasion was imminent, humanity needed to know, and fast. He rushed to the communications room, his mind racing. He couldn't waste any more time. With the knowledge Zylara had given him, he knew what had to be done. He dialed the emergency hotline to the United Nations, praying they would listen to him. His voice trembled as he spoke to the operator. "This is Dr. Aiden Carter. I need to speak with the highest authorities immediately. The peace mission, it's a trap. The Galactic Council is planning to destroy Earth. We have no time." The operator hesitated, then patched him through to the global leaders. Dr. Carter quickly explained everything, how the Galactic Council's peaceful intent had been a lie, how Earth's resources and strategic location made it the perfect target for the Council's plans. He warned them about the impending attack. But even as he spoke, A sinking feeling settled in his stomach. He feared that it might already be too late. Just as the last of his message was sent out, a chilling silence fell over the earth. It was as though the world was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. And then, without warning, the sky above Earth seemed to crack open. A fleet of massive warships, cloaked in advanced stealth technology, appeared from nowhere. The ships emerged from the depths of space, their enormous frames almost invisible to the naked eye, but their presence was undeniable. Earth's military had no time to react. By the time the warships uncloaked, they were already hovering above key cities. The first wave of destruction began. The silence that had filled the air was shattered by the deafening roar of explosions as orbital bombardment began. The warships launched a series of devastating energy blasts, raining destruction down on Earth's major cities. New York, London, Beijing, and others were obliterated in an instant. Buildings crumbled, fires erupted, and plumes of smoke filled the sky. The sound of sirens, screams, and chaos could be heard around the globe as the first wave of attacks set the stage for the Council's invasion. Humanity's military forces rushed into action, but their weapons were no match for the advanced technology of the Galactic Council. The warships, cloaked in near-perfect invisibility, evaded every missile, every fighter jet sent to intercept them. The AI-controlled ships were able to predict human movements before they even happened, rendering Earth's military forces powerless. The world watched in horror as humanity's best attempts at defense crumbled. Fighter jets streaked through the sky, launching missiles, but they had no effect. Tanks and soldiers stormed the streets, but they were powerless against the invisible enemy. On the ground, chaos erupted. Citizens tried to flee, but with no clear direction, panic set in. Streets were filled with wreckage and debris. The military fought valiantly, but they were no match for the unrelenting power of the Galactic Council. Earth was facing an enemy that had come prepared, not just to defeat, but to utterly annihilate. Dr. Carter watched from his command center, helpless. The reality of the situation settled in. The Council had prepared for everything. They had calculated every move. Earth was no longer in control. In the chaos, Scylla, despite her weakened state, was their only hope. Dr. Carter knew that she held the key to turning the tide, but her psychic abilities were unpredictable. She had to tap into the full potential of her powers, even though her trauma made it difficult for her to focus. As Scylla was rushed to the command center, the world seemed to hold its breath. The skies were filled with explosions and the sound of war. Scylla, still weak from her previous mental breakdown, stood at the center of the room, her eyes closed in concentration. Her body trembled, but she was determined. With a loud gasp, Scylla's eyes snapped open, and a wave of psychic energy exploded from her body. The room shook with the force of her abilities. Dr. Carter watched in awe and fear as Scylla's powers surged to life. Her mind was connected to the invading warships now, her psychic abilities cutting through the Council's defenses. The warships, once invisible, began to flicker, their cloaking devices malfunctioning under the intensity of her psychic onslaught. It was a small victory, enough for humanity's forces to target the warships. Fighter jets, now able to see the invaders, launched a coordinated attack. Missiles collided with the enemy ships, and explosions lit up the sky. But this was just the beginning. Scylla's powers were beginning to take a toll on her, her body weakening as she fought against the Council's technology. Dr. Carter knew they had to act fast. Scylla was their last hope. But how long could she last? As the first wave of destruction continued, the stakes had never been higher. Humanity's survival rested on the balance between Scylla's broken mind and the overwhelming force of the Galactic Council. The battle for Earth had just begun. The Earth was now on the brink of annihilation. The Galactic Council's forces, relentless and overpowering, had already shattered Earth's defenses. Cities lay in ruins, and the survivors were scattered, struggling to survive amid the chaos. As the war escalated, hope began to fade, and the world seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the final blow. It was in these darkest hours that a group of soldiers, led by Captain Alexander Bonner, made one final desperate stand. Captain Bonner, a seasoned veteran, had seen war in all its brutal forms. His face, lined with years of experience, had always been a symbol of resilience. He was a man who had led his team through countless battles, but nothing could have prepared him for the alien menace that now ravaged Earth. Yet, despite the overwhelming odds, Captain Bonner refused to give up. With the world hanging in the balance, he made a choice. The best defense against the Council's onslaught was not just military might, it was strategy. He and his team would infiltrate one of the Galactic Council's most powerful ships, a behemoth hovering over what remained of Earth's capital, and disable its power core. It was a suicide mission. The team, though fearful, followed their leader without hesitation. They had been trained to fight against insurmountable odds, but they knew that this mission was different. They were not just fighting for survival, they were fighting for the future of humanity. As the team of soldiers boarded a covered stealth craft and flew toward the massive alien warship, Bonner gave them a final command: stay focused. We're not just fighting for ourselves, we're fighting for everyone back on the ground. The soldiers knew the risks, but their courage never wavered. They infiltrated the alien warship with precision, moving silently through its dark, metallic halls, their weapons ready. Every corner they turned, every step they took, they knew they were getting closer to the heart of the ship, closer to the power core that could bring the invasion to a halt. But the deeper they went, the more they realized the magnitude of the challenge. The ship's advanced technology was beyond anything humanity had ever encountered. The alien soldiers, with their enhanced reflexes and advanced weaponry, patrolled the halls, making each moment more dangerous than the last. Yet Bonner and his team pressed on, knowing that their mission was the only hope for Earth's survival. They finally reached the power core, but it was guarded by an army of alien soldiers. Bonner's heart raced as he looked at his team. They were exhausted, but there was no turning back. With a quick nod, he gave the order, and the battle erupted. The soldiers fought valiantly, using everything they had learned in their training to counter the alien forces. It was an intense, bloody battle. The sound of gunfire echoed through the corridors as Bonner and his team pushed forward, their backs against the wall. One by one, his soldiers fell, but Bonner refused to stop. His resolve was unwavering. He knew that if he didn't complete this mission, humanity would have no chance. In the end, it was Bonner himself who reached the core. With a final, desperate surge of energy, he set the charge that would destroy the alien power source. As the countdown began, Bonner knew that there was no escape. His team was gone, and he was alone, but he had done it. He had given Earth a fighting chance. With his last breath, Bonner sent a message to Earth, his voice crackling through the communication system. Fight. Never give up. The message from Captain Bonner rippled across the globe. It was a cry for help, a beacon of hope in the face of impossible odds. The people of Earth, from every corner of the world, heard his words, and for the first time in days, they felt a spark of courage. It was the rallying cry they so desperately needed. But for Dr. Aiden Carter, the words hit even harder. He had spent so much time trying to understand Sci-Fi, trying to make sense of her powers and her trauma. The two of them had forged an unspoken bond, one built on trust and the desire to protect Earth from the alien threat. When Bonner's message reached Dr. Carter, something shifted in him. He knew that humanity's survival was no longer about just fighting the aliens. It was about overcoming the despair that had taken hold, and that meant he had to help Sci-Fi overcome her own trauma. Sci-Fi had been through so much. She had witnessed the destruction of entire civilizations by the very beings who now sought to annihilate Earth. Her mind was fragile, and her psychic abilities, though powerful, had been a source of constant torment. Yet, in that moment, Dr. Carter realized something. The strength to fight back didn't just lie in physical weapons. It lay in the human spirit, the will to survive. He approached Sci-Fi, who was still recovering from her psychic outbursts. Her eyes were filled with confusion and fear. But when she looked at him, something shifted in her as well. She had always seen humans as weak, as primitive beings, but now she saw something else. The same resilience that had kept her fighting all these years. The same resilience that had kept Earth's defenders fighting, even when the odds seemed impossible. Sci-Fi looked at Dr. Carter, her voice soft but filled with determination. "I can't undo what the Council has done, but I can stop them. I can help you." Moved by the sacrifice of Captain Bonner and his team, and understanding the stakes more clearly than ever before, Sci-Fi made a decision. She could no longer allow herself to be a passive observer of humanity's destruction. It was time to take action, to overcome the trauma that had plagued her for so long. The Council had twisted her mind, but the strength to fight was still inside her. With a deep breath, Sci-Fi closed her eyes, focusing all her energy on what lay ahead. Her psychic abilities, once erratic and unpredictable, began to surge. She could feel the connection to the Council's vast network of ships and AI systems. She reached into the heart of their control, searching for the key to sever their hold over Earth's fate. The task was immense. The Galactic Council's AI systems were deeply ingrained, a part of every ship, every weapon, every piece of technology. But Sci-Fi was determined. She pushed past the memories of pain and torment, focusing all her strength on the mission before her. She reached deep into the neural network that connected the AI to the alien warships, her mind now a conduit for energy and power. With a final, powerful push, Sci-Fi severed the connection. The results were immediate and dramatic. The cloaking devices that had rendered the alien warships invisible flickered and died. For the first time, humanity could see their attackers. The warships, once silent and invisible, were now vulnerable. The AI-controlled systems that had predicted Earth's every move faltered, their coordination thrown into chaos. Humanity's forces, armed with this newfound knowledge, launched a full assault. Fighter jets, missile defense systems, and even the remnants of Earth's ground forces mobilized. With the cloak of invisibility gone, the warships were finally vulnerable. As the tide of battle turned, Sci-Fi remained at the center of it all. Her psychic powers crackled through the atmosphere, a wave of energy that surged outward, disrupting the remaining alien forces. Her mind, once a prison of fear and confusion, now became a weapon of unimaginable power. She fought not just for Earth, but for herself, for the future, and for the hope that humanity could overcome even the darkest of times. Explosions filled the sky, and the warships began to fall. The Council's once impenetrable forces were crumbling. The soldiers on the ground, bolstered by the support from above, fought with renewed vigor. The battle raged on, but for the first time in days, it seemed that humanity might just win. In this climactic moment, Dr. Carter stood beside Sci-Fi, watching the battle unfold. They had come so far, and though the road ahead was still uncertain, one thing was clear: the fight was far from over. But as long as they had the courage to face the unknown, Earth's spirit would never break. The Earth, once teetering on the brink of destruction, now had a fighting chance. The tides of war had shifted. Sci-Fi, with her extraordinary psychic abilities and newfound resolve, had given humanity the edge they needed. The Galactic Council's warships, which had once seemed invincible, were now vulnerable. Their cloaking devices had been disabled, and their AI systems were in disarray. The humans, armed with the knowledge of the Council's technology and the courage to fight, were ready for the final confrontation. The last battle would take place in Earth's orbit. The stars twinkled like distant beacons, their light barely able to cut through the haze of smoke and debris that surrounded the battlefield. Massive warships from both sides loomed above the planet, their engines burning bright as they prepared for the ultimate clash. Sci-Fi was in the lead, her presence almost tangible as she rallied the human forces. The humans were no longer the underdogs. They had learned from the aliens' advanced technology, adapting their strategies and weapons to counter the Council's overwhelming might. The disoriented Council forces were struggling to maintain control. The once unstoppable warships now floundered in space, their movements erratic and disjointed as their central command systems faltered. For the first time in this long and grueling war, the humans had the upper hand. Stylara, along with Dr. Carter and the remaining military forces, knew this was their chance to strike. They couldn't waste it. The battle in the sky was about to begin, and Earth's forces were ready to give everything they had to secure victory. With a mighty roar of engines, human warships engaged the alien fleet. The air in space crackled with tension as weapons fired, and the night sky erupted in flashes of light. The human forces launched missiles, and the Earth's new energy weapons lit up the darkness, finding their marks on the alien warships. The battle raged on, and as the humans fought to take control of the heavens, the Council's forces were quickly pushed back. The Council had underestimated Earth's resilience, and now they were paying the price. The battle in space was just the beginning. The real fight was happening inside the Galactic Council's warships. With their cloaking devices now gone, the remaining alien ships were vulnerable to human assault. Zylara, leading a small team of soldiers, boarded one of the massive ships, determined to take the fight directly to the heart of the enemy. She could feel the pulse of the ship beneath her feet, the hum of its engines, and the cold metal corridors she moved through. As they infiltrated the warship, the team of soldiers was ready for anything. The ship was heavily guarded by the Council's elite forces, robotic soldiers designed for maximum combat efficiency, and AI-enhanced warriors with strength and reflexes far beyond human capabilities. These soldiers were the Council's final line of defense, their ultimate protectors. But for the humans and Zylara, there was no turning back. The moment the doors to the warship's central control room slid open, all hell broke loose. The elite guards were waiting. The soldiers clashed with the robotic warriors, the sound of metal meeting metal ringing through the halls of the alien ship. Gunfire echoed, and explosions rocked the walls as humans fought tooth and nail to survive. Zylara, using her psychic powers, created barriers of force to protect her team, throwing enemies aside with nothing but her mind. The combat was intense and brutal. Each soldier fought with everything they had, their hands shaking from adrenaline, their weapons firing nonstop. Zylara's powers were at their peak, but even she couldn't hold off the entire army of robotic soldiers forever. The enemy was relentless, and their technology seemed superior. Yet the humans kept pushing forward, refusing to surrender. Inside the control room, Captain Bonner's words rang in their ears. Fight. Never give up. Those words gave them strength when they needed it most. Even when the soldiers began to fall one by one, they fought on, using every last ounce of their energy to push through. Zylara moved with precision, using her psychic abilities to disrupt the alien technology, causing the warships to malfunction and giving her team an edge. The battle inside the warship was a dance of survival. Every step brought them closer to the heart of the ship, where the final weapon was located, an advanced power core capable of destroying Earth's entire atmosphere if activated. It was this weapon that Zylara and the humans had to disable before the entire planet was wiped out. Time was running out, and the fight inside the warship was becoming more desperate by the minute. Throughout the battle, Zylara was not just fighting for Earth's survival. She was also fighting an internal battle, one that she had carried with her for as long as she could remember. She had been born into a world where loyalty to her own kind was paramount. For years, she had been conditioned to believe that her people were superior, that they were the rightful rulers of the galaxy. But after everything she had seen, after everything she had experienced with humanity, Stylara's beliefs had started to crack. As she fought alongside the humans, her emotions began to stir. She had witnessed their courage, their selflessness, and their determination. She had seen them fight not for power or control, but for the very survival of their planet. And she had come to understand something fundamental. Humanity's strength lay in its ability to bond, to care for each other, and to never give up, no matter the cost. But Silara was torn. She had once believed in the Galactic Council's cause, but now she saw it for what it truly was, an oppressive force that would stop at nothing to dominate the galaxy. She had betrayed her own people to help the humans, and now she was faced with a choice: continue fighting for the Council's defeat and fully embrace her new place among the humans, or return to her people and betray everything she had come to care about. The battle inside the warship raged on, and the weight of her decision pressed heavily on her. But then, in the heat of the conflict, Silara experienced a moment of clarity. She saw the faces of the soldiers fighting beside her, their expressions filled with fear, but also with determination. She realized that her place was here, among them, fighting for Earth's future. Her humanity had already been awakened, and now she knew where her loyalties truly lay. In that moment, Silara made her choice. She would fight for Earth. She would not return to the Council. She would stand with the humans, forever. The final moments of the battle were nothing short of chaotic. Outside, in the cold void of space, explosions lit up the dark sky. The sounds of warships colliding and missiles exploding echoed throughout the universe. The once mighty warships of the Galactic Council, which had seemed so invincible just days before, were now breaking apart, their powerful shields faltering under the pressure of humanity's relentless assault. Inside the warships, the fight had become even more brutal. The claustrophobic corridors were filled with the sounds of gunfire, explosions, and screams. Sparks flew from damaged walls, and the ship's artificial gravity flickered as explosions rattled the entire vessel. Human soldiers, alongside Silara, fought with everything they had, pushing forward through the maze of enemy defenses. As they reached the control room, they found themselves face to face with the final weapon. The power core that could obliterate Earth in a single strike. It was protected by the last line of defense, the Council's most elite guards. But Silara, with her powers fully unleashed, led the charge. The psychic wave she unleashed disrupted the control systems, throwing the alien guards into disarray. The humans surged forward, overwhelming the remaining defenses. As the final explosion ripped through the ship, Silara and Dr. Carter looked out the viewport to see the massive warship break apart. The Galactic Council's reign of terror had come to an end. In the final moments, Silara stood tall, knowing she had made the right choice. The battle for Earth had been won, but it was not just a victory over the alien invaders. It was a victory for humanity itself, for its unwavering spirit, and for its capacity to fight for survival, no matter the odds. And with that, the last stand of humanity became a tale of triumph, a testament to their strength, courage, and the will to never give up. The battle for Earth had been long and grueling, filled with unimaginable odds and moments of despair. But now, as the final remnants of the Galactic Council's invasion fleet drifted into the cold void of space, Earth could finally breathe a sigh of relief. The Council had been defeated. Humanity had prevailed. Yet this victory came at an immense cost. Captain Bonner and many soldiers, who had fought so valiantly in the final moments, were no longer among the living. Their sacrifice was the price for Earth's survival. Their names would be remembered forever, etched in the hearts of those who had fought beside them. As the last warship exploded into a shower of debris, the humans who remained on Earth stood tall, but with heavy hearts. The war was over, but the scars of battle were deep. Earth had lost many good men and women in the fight to defend their planet. Cities had been torn apart by alien weapons, and the planet's defenses had been pushed to the brink. Yet, through it all, humanity had proved its resilience, its refusal to give up in the face of annihilation. The war might be over, but the real work was just beginning. In the aftermath of the invasion, Earth's leaders, scientists, and military strategists began to rebuild. The cities were slowly being restored. Technology that had once seemed like a dream was now being used to heal, and Earth's defenses were being upgraded to prevent any future invasions. But more importantly, Earth had a new hope, one that was unexpected, yet powerful. Silara. The alien woman who had once been a tool of the Galactic Council was now free. She was no longer a prisoner of her past, and her decision to join humanity had changed everything. No longer was she an outsider, a stranger from another world. She was part of Earth's future, and she had made it her mission to help guide humanity through the uncertain days ahead. Though her people had been enemies, Sci-Fi had found something in humanity she could never have expected: courage, compassion, and a willingness to fight for what was right. She was no longer just an alien, a symbol of the enemy. To humanity, she was a hero, a symbol of the unity and strength that had triumphed over overwhelming darkness. The bond between Sci-Fi and Earth was unbreakable now. As the dust of the war began to settle, and humanity took its first steps into the future, there was a quiet moment between Dr. Carter and Sci-Fi. The two had shared a bond throughout the war, forged in the fires of battle. Dr. Carter had been Sci-Fi's guide, showing her what it meant to be human and helping her realize that she had a choice, not just to fight for her people, but for the future of the galaxy. Sci-Fi had been through so much. She had witnessed the devastation of her own kind's actions, the destruction they caused, and the lives they had taken. But with Dr. Carter, she had come to understand something far greater than the Council's orders. She had discovered humanity's strength, its compassion, and its unwavering spirit. As they stood on the edge of Earth's largest surviving city, overlooking the sprawling metropolis below, Sci-Fi and Dr. Carter shared a quiet moment of reflection. The sounds of the city, the hum of rebuilding, the laughter of children, the gentle whisper of the wind, were all around them. It was a peaceful, beautiful moment, one that was hard to imagine only days ago when the world had been on the brink of collapse. Dr. Carter turned to Sci-Fi, his eyes filled with respect. "You've made a difference," he said softly. "You've saved us all. You helped us fight for what mattered." Sci-Fi smiled, her eyes bright with gratitude. "I've learned a lot from you, Doctor. From all of you. I never thought I could find a place among your kind. But now, I see what you all have. You never give up. And that's why you won. I'm proud to stand with you." The bond between them was more than just one of allies. It was the connection between two people from different worlds, united by a common purpose. Sci-Fi had become not just an ally, but a symbol of the power of choice, the strength of change, and the hope for a brighter future. And Dr. Carter had seen her transformation from an alien conqueror to a fierce protector of Earth. Together, they had changed the course of history. As they parted ways, both understood that the war was over, but the future was still unwritten. Sci-Fi would stay on Earth, helping the human race rebuild and prepare for whatever challenges might come. And Dr. Carter would continue his work, using his knowledge to help bridge the gap between humans and their new alien allies. The final moments of the story were filled with both triumph and bittersweetness. Humanity had won, but the cost had been great. As Earth's sky cleared of the smoke and debris from the battle, the remnants of the Galactic Council's warships slowly retreated, their once mighty fleet now in disarray. Earth stood victorious, but the victory was not without sacrifice. Humanity, though battered, had emerged stronger than ever. The warships of the Galactic Council, once poised to destroy Earth, were now in retreat, their advanced technology rendered useless by the will and resilience of the human spirit. The Council had underestimated Earth's resolve, and they would pay the price for their arrogance. As the final warships vanished into the vastness of space, the people of Earth turned their eyes to the future. The war had been won, but now, the real challenge began. The planet would rebuild, yes, but there were lessons to be learned. There would be challenges ahead, both from within and from beyond the stars. The universe was vast, and Earth's place in it was uncertain. But for the first time, humanity faced the future with confidence. With the help of Sci-Fi and the lessons learned from the war, they were ready to meet whatever lay ahead. The final scene showed Earth's military preparing to explore the stars, with humanity now equipped to face the unknown. Sci-Fi stood at the forefront, her psychic powers guiding the ship that would lead humanity into the future. She wasn't just a survivor of the Galactic Council's invasion. She was now a beacon of hope, a living testament to the possibility of redemption and the strength of unity. As the camera panned across the Earth, from the towering cities to the green fields where children played, the last words of Captain Bonner echoed in the distance. "We fight because it's who we are. We never give up." Those words would live on in the hearts of all who had fought. Earth had faced its darkest hour and emerged victorious. But the true victory was not just in defeating the alien invaders. It was in the unwavering spirit of humanity, in its refusal to give up, no matter the cost. The screen faded to black, but the message remained clear. Humanity's future was now its own. And with the stars ahead, there was no limit to what they could achieve. The story was over, but a new chapter was just beginning.